It is time
This willingness to take risks,
to boldly go.
We are always creating.
to step out,
Our thoughts are always creating
This is mine to do.
how we feel,
to live our life,
how we take action in the world.
continue the journey.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Truth Be Told. This is episode 74 and wow, what a year it's been, what a month it's been. This month we are talking about creativity in so many different ways of, how are we bringing more creativity into our lives, more, of the traditional stuff of the art and the creations and the process or the different artistic expressions. And we're also talking about, how are we creating our individual realities and our collective reality together. So it's been a fun month, and this final week, we're just kind of pulling it all together, and we are planning to boldly go where no one has gone before or something like that. It's called Boldly Go. Sit back and enjoy this episode of Truth Be Told. So as we come into this final week of April, where we are talking about creativity, I want to draw the attention to the fact that we are always creating. Our thoughts are always creating how we feel and creating how we take action in the world. And that all creates the actual space around us, which all contributes to the entire creation that is unfolding daily, minute by minute, second by second on this globe that we call planet Earth. So as we step into this month, I want to, we've talked a little bit about, saying yes to the things that inspire us, and how sometimes when we do that, then the things that cause resistance come up and sometimes can get us off the path. And then as we step back onto it and we get through that resistance, then we kind of hit that glass ceiling where it's the limits of our past thinking and cultural norms and whatever that just kind of prevents us from going through with it to get through and really follow that passion. Now this week we get to boldly go, taking these things into the world and creating the life that we have. But what I want to encourage us to do is to boldly go, step into the activities that yes, we would like to do more of, and do it from a place of joy for ourselves, joy for yourself. Like, what would you just enjoy doing? Maybe when we let go of doing it to, say what society tells us is that you have to get results, you have to achieve, follow your passion and turn it into your multi-million dollar empire. All these things that tell us that that's what makes people great. We're all great just by being born. So I want to encourage all of us to let those things go, so that way we can step into the joys and passions that we have with just a freedom to let it be, to let go, like that, dance like nobody's looking, that idea. Who cares if anybody's looking? Just doing it for yourself, whatever that passion is, and that is the joy of living this life to its fullest. And as we do that, I also want to encourage us all to remember to take a moment daily, schedule in time to be part of your creation of self-care, of, as we let go of doing the things for everybody else around us or to prove our self-worth or something. At that same time, like, we don't have to run all the time. It is definitely up to us. If we want to see more peace and more kindness, more stillness, and more calm in this world, it all has to start from our own mind, from our own self, and our own actions. So I know for me, to boldly go, I'm gonna boldly go take some more naps, because I can't run all the time, and I'm feeling myself just kind of becoming depleted here and there, because there's so much going on in this world that is calling for our attention. I'm making it my intention right now to sit back, to pursue those things that bring joy to me. I'm going to block out the demands of the world more frequently while still meeting, what I need to do for my family, for myself, and at that same time making sure that I show up in my best way possible, which means that I boldly take more naps. I boldly take care of myself, and through that, really, we create the world that we want to see. If you want more peace in the world, be more peaceful in your thoughts and more peaceful in your actions. If you want more kindness, you get the picture. Be that in your thoughts. It all starts with there. So as you follow your passions, combine them with also the desired traits that you would like to see exhibited in the world through all your acts of creation.
I will boldly take more naps. I love that.
Yes. Unabashedly, unapologetically, take more naps. That's all need more naps these days.
Yes. The world would be a better place if we all took more naps. That's funny.
Yeah, definitely. It works in pre-K, why wouldn't it work for us?
I know, right? Like, why'd they take away recess and why'd they take away nap time?
The things that we need.
Yeah, seriously.
Band class, art class, and PE.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a whole other. All right, focus. The first thought that comes to mind, and this was like right off the bat, the beginning of your segment, and you said, you just want to state that we are always creating. And it just makes me realize how I think we could probably take a monthly series on every single sentence that any one of us says in any of our segments. Like, we are always creating. And I'm like, oh man, there's so, that's such a simple thing. And I think it's said often, but how often do we take the time and really like pick apart, like, what does that really mean? And just to realize how much power there is in that idea, but also in the fact that we are always creating, and how easily misunderstood that might be, like as if every single word or every single thought I have is going to like poof, like magic, create the thing I just like, yeah, kind of,
right.
Yeah. Maybe there's a series in there on that one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it brings up about 100 things right now that I want to say, but I know we can't fit them all. But yeah, I do like that idea that yes, we are always creating, and we are, our thoughts are manifesting into things. But thank goodness, like it's not instantaneous, like you were saying, because
yeah.
I feel like that's been in a movie or something somewhere where people, whatever they think is like instantly manifesting, and it quickly turns into complete self-destruction in the matter of like seconds.
Yeah. We'd last like 5 minutes each.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it is powerful to think and to remind ourselves, like, how often are we like super intentional about like, wait a minute, I can sit down, I can put some thought to this, see what comes up.
Yeah.
And then be aware of like all the little thoughts, the little glib things that we're having, walking about our days, thinking, whatever.
Yeah. I think it's a cumulative. So yeah, every thought we have does create within the context of the larger, like, what's the sum total, right? Like if you're in a massive crowd and you're talking to the person next to you, you're basically hearing every word. But if you like zoom or pan out on that crowd, the further away you get, if everyone's talking, it just sounds like this like murmuring, like you don't actually hear, right? And so that's kind of, I think, I'm my best educated guess, I think that's kind of how the universe works, right? Like the universe doesn't speak in language. I think while language is really important for us and us as individuals, us as a group, like, when we are using affirmations or using prayer or just speaking really intentionally, I think it's easy to think like the universe is speaking English or is speaking this language and I mean, sure, that like if the universe were to take form as a being, which it does all the time, as us, as people, yeah, it takes form hearing the language that it's taking form learning, right? But like the universe as a whole isn't speaking any language. It's about the energy, the feeling, the emotions, right? So it's like, what words are we using to get us into that? And then as much as it is accumulative, I think there's like a lowest common denominator kind of thing, right? Like if we break it all up into these fractions, if this percentage of my time thinks this way, and this percentage I think this way, and this percentage of time I think this way, and this percentage of time I think this way, like how does that all where does that even out? Where's like the middle, and like you said, thank God, right? Yeah. I mean, but for me, I think it gives me the leeway to not beat myself up when I'm not creating, when I'm not like, manifesting the very thing that I think I should be manifesting. It's like, okay, well, do I have how many, do I have 36 years of thoughts different than that? Or at least a percentage of 36 years of thoughts different than that thing? And then throw on top of that, like the collective imagination, the collective unconscious of like, what does the rest of the world think about this thing, right? Because why? Right. Otherwise, we could each be like, I'm going to win the lottery. Poof. Well, yeah. How many people won the lottery today?
Right. Shocking. Again, another 1.8 million people bought the winning ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody gets $5.
Right. Again. Yeah.
Again. Yeah. I think that's, one place that people get kind of hung up to, like, thinking like, okay, so what's my predominant thoughts? And then, but not recognizing like we are in a shared reality and a shared mind that we're using. So it's more complex than just that.
And that doesn't mean that we are at the mercy of the unconscious or the collective, right? Like we still get to create. We are creating collectively and individually simultaneously, and so we are not at the mercy of creating on precedent or on collective thought, right? We still have the ability to create that thing, based on our individual desires. And this is where it goes full circle again. It's like, and to realize that our individual desires then do also have an impact on everyone else again. And so every decision we make, we are now influencing the collective again. And so as the collective kind of snowballs into this new critical mass, it creates a new collective, right? And that's, I think, since we're clearly going there right now, like the collective the critical mass that was collected before, in years past, over decades or centuries or however long, hasn't necessarily taken into consideration what the implications of that are on future generations. And so I think we're at a point where we're recognizing our own individual ability, our collective ability to create, but then that responsibility that we have creating on what we're creating for the future. And so it's like this it's like a hat trick. It's a triple whammy kind of realization. I think that's kind of coming about, but I actually, to me, it feels way more powerful. Like, wow, there's such an intention and a power behind creating consciously, not just for me, but for me and us and me and for everyone yet to be,
future generations. Absolutely. We kind of came through an era where we were really, I think, leaning into like we could create and manifest in our lives, and like you said, people weren't necessarily thinking down the road generations, like all this right now, me, like boom, and did amazing things. And now it's like, oh crap, now now we're kind of in a pickle here. We didn't plan ahead very well. but
Yeah.
the amazing power, of the universe, the resiliency of humankind, the resiliency of Mother Earth, I think, of the universe.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are at a powerful kind of, what's the word, intersection right now that we can take this and create
And boldly
amazing
go. We will boldly
Boldly
go.
Yes.
Nice.
This month we've been talking about creativity. So we've said yes to the yes. That stepping out, that making these decisions that support our passions and who we are and a greater expression of who we are. We have talked about resistance. That sneaky little thing that happens when we say yes to the yes, and then we're met with resistance, sometimes because we're stepping out in ways that we've never done before, so it's a little uncomfortable. And sometimes we're stepping out in ways and we don't really know how it's going to go, and so we meet this kind of resistance, this fear. And so we talked about how to lean into that resistance and to see what it has to tell us, and then to move through it, breaking that glass ceiling, breaking that barrier that sometimes we put on ourselves, or the box that we've created, whatever metaphor that you want to talk about, and how doing this, we can create greater awareness of who we are, this expanded way of living. And so today we're boldly going. And so, other than an arbitrary Star Trek reference, boldly going speaks to this idea of this willingness to take risks, this willingness to step out, to live our life, to not be afraid of discomfort, to understand that discomfort and resistance and joy and peace and love and fear and all those things are a part of our experience of life and a part of our experience in living out our creativity. So boldly going is kind of a call to us to continue the journey, to continue to meet resistance, to continue to be willing to sit in the discomfort, and to continue to learn all that it has to teach us. And so understanding that each and every day we are creating, each and every day we have the opportunity to make decisions that support us, to make decisions that support our passions, to make decisions that support that inner call within us to express ourselves more fully, to show up authentically, and sometimes to be vulnerable in order to do that. And to understand that all of those are risks, and that's okay. To understand the power of a life that's lived authentically, a power that is experienced when we tap into the creativity, to the conscious creativity of our life. And so the call is to boldly go. The call is to be okay with the discomfort. The call is to be authentic, to be vulnerable, and to really experience all that life has to offer. To really experience a deeper understanding of ourselves, to experience a greater awareness of others, and to experience this power of community, this power that fuels us in this journey of creativity, this journey of life. And this yearning, this thing that is welling up within us, constantly calling us to grow, to transform, to evolve, to live this life in a way that works for us, in a way that works for others, in a way that we can collectively create an experience that we can't help but be super excited to wake up in the morning and to live. And so the call is to boldly go, maybe in ways you never thought possible.
I love Red Ryan's backdrop. That was amazing.
Yeah.
I love that ship.
Yeah,
and I love how they kind of took it like kind of where we were going, in the idea of like the collective and talking about like the power of community when we
Yeah.
are intentionally creating. I think that's important to think about.
Yeah. The one thing that stuck out to me was that idea of going boldly going, whatever to go boldly, whatever the thing is.
Right.
To make that move takes risk. And I think like it all of a sudden had this shift in energy for me, the idea of risk taking, especially within the context of collectively creating. I think in the past, taking a risk was like, how much money do you have to lose? And like,
Right.
if you don't have money to lose, you can't take risks. Like risk is kind of like this privilege of those with enough money to move through certain business ventures and whatnot, and risk taking correlated directly to the money that was involved. At least, I think from a certain perspective on life. But this all of a sudden kind of felt like, oh yeah, what is like spiritual risk taking, right? If it's not about money, what does it mean to take a risk within, and it kind of felt like this idea of like stepping out into like being vulnerable is a risk. I'm going to put myself out here. I'm going to take the risk to kind of set aside the armor for a minute and put my real self out here and see, is this a place, test the waters? Can I really be vulnerable enough to be authentic here and see? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's a totally different type of risk, especially when we're tying that idea into collectively and intentionally creating a future that works not just for us when we get there, but for the future that we're not going to see. And that is a very eye-opening picture.
All right. Yeah, I think it's it's huge to be able to put yourself out there, to say what it is you want to create. To create, if you want to go to the classic example of, creating art, like, hey, I put my heart and soul into this, and you put it out there, like you're vulnerable right now to people, to potentially ridicule or, shaming, downplaying, all those different things that come in. And, quite often I love it. Okay, I'm going to bring in Brene Brown because, we like to do that. But
yeah,
that whole like Brene Brown, that daring, daring greatly, when Brene talks about like, you're in the arena. Like when you put yourself out there and you are creating, you're putting your ideas out there, you're putting yourself, your authentic self out there, that you are in the arena and you are vulnerable and you are taking risks. And what we need to do is then to learn how to like, don't take any guff from people in the cheap seats that are not in the arena. We're sitting out on the sideline. Yeah. The people like pointing out every little flaw, every little thing that, makes you feel awkward or small, like just learning to block that out and be like, I'm not doing it for them. And it's kind of like that Gary V post. I shared the Gary V post like a month ago or so. And he's talking about how we get so hung up in that, like one person that's chattering there, and you're forgetting like the 5 people that are like, yeah, go, man, you're doing it.
Yeah.
Do it. Find your support and do it without worrying about this.
And that one voice is always way louder than the other 5 or 100 or 1,000. Yeah.
There are.
I would say certainly louder than the one person that, because you went out and did the thing, you then inspired somebody else to go out and do their thing. Those people are often not, we often don't know about the times we've inspired somebody else to go out and do their thing. And then every once in a while, somebody, like I've had this experience every once in a while that somebody will reach out to me and be like, that thing that happened like 10 years ago, well, I want to thank you because now I am such and such. And it's like, whoa, like, I hadn't thought about that in years. That's so cool. Because I was able to ignore that voice that one time to do that one thing, not saying that I can ignore the voice every time, but did it that one time, and that one other person saw it, and now they went out and did that thing, and they're making huge leaps. It's like, oh wow. Yeah, talk about collectively creating, That's pretty powerful.
Powerful stuff, indeed.
Yeah, it is. All right. So thank you all for being here with us. And we certainly are not done yet, but we just wanted to take this quick time out to let you know. We have some really exciting news. We have just announced today publicly. We just found out last week that Soul Evolution Collaborative is now officially a Centers for Spiritual Living affiliated community. And not only that, but we are in fact the first teaching center for the Centers for Spiritual Living. So we have actually broken ground in new, innovative, forward-thinking community models. So thank you all for playing whatever part you have played in that. It's really exciting. We're really excited. It's pretty cool thing. We were official. Now we're like super official. We are super duper official. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, we are officially Soul Evolution Collaborative, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center, which is pretty awesome. So you are part of inspiring new things, great things. So we are together, collectively, boldly going. And so just quick, a little bit about what's going on. Everything that we have been doing, we're still doing, so none of that changes. Tuesday night, which is tonight, we have Truth Be Told, 7 p.m. Eastern time every week. And we just kick off the theme and the message for the week. Thursday nights, we get to dive a little bit deeper in that, in The Gathering, 7 p.m. Eastern. And that is just a small group experience where we get to come together and see each other and be seen. Sunday mornings, we have Stripped Down Sunday, 12:30 Eastern, and that's just a stripped down version of what would have been a Sunday service, and more to come. We are soon releasing the first date for our second Sunday experience, which is going to be our large group get together with people from all over the place. So that's going to be awesome. And we are also launching soon Socially Engaged Conversations, which is a place where we will bring together anybody and everybody to talk about some very poignant cultural and social topics. So that'll be a lot of fun. So again, thank you so much for being here. Everything you want to know about what we're doing is on soulevolutioncollaborative.org. Check it out when you can. And now let us get back to Truth Be Told.
It is time to boldly go. And so this week we come back full circle to the yes. This month we have talked about creativity, starting from the yes, working through our resistance, breaking through the glass ceiling, and now it is time to boldly go. And there is an interesting thing that I have found happen in my experience of breaking through glass ceilings and glass ceilings and glass ceilings, because each time we do, we tend to create a new comfort zone for ourselves, which comes along with a new glass ceiling. And there is this experience that I have had that when we break through that glass ceiling, we have a tendency to start to second guess ourselves at times. It is really easy to break through that glass ceiling and charge ahead until things around us start showing up strangely and people start reacting differently, and our change starts to become a threat to other people, or a perceived threat, not an actual threat, but a perceived threat to those who haven't made that change. And so if we're the only one making the change, it is really easy to start to second guess the change that we've made, that maybe we shouldn't have done that thing. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this a different way. Whatever it is, we maybe shouldn't be doing that. Maybe that's not a great idea. No one else is. And so we second guess ourselves. And so going boldly to go boldly beyond where we have been before asks us to return to that yes, to return to that place of yes, this is mine to do, this is the thing I am doing, this is the way we are going. A great example of this I have seen recently is in, I guess, corporate America, where there has been a lot of awakening to conditions and values that just don't really align with most people anymore. Maybe they never did, maybe they used to, I don't know, but they certainly don't now. And people started boldly going in new directions, but the rest of the culture around them maybe wasn't. And so we're starting to see people kind of backpedal a little bit, and especially with this whole we get more work done at home thing. And it was like, yeah, let's all work remote. And now there was pushback, a little pushback in the beginning. And since there was a little pushback, it led to a little more. And maybe there's not quite nearly as many people working from home anymore, right? So if you are in a position, and it doesn't have to be just corporate America, if you are in a position of leadership in any way, and you are able to go boldly, don't let, especially in corporate America, because it is the people who go boldly that everyone else follow. Because mostly everyone, we'll say everyone knows it's a good idea. Everyone knows more work was done at home, right? Whatever the direction of going boldly is, go boldly in that direction without letting what's happening around you stop you from doing that thing. And it takes that bold presence to convince yourself to keep going, to keep doing that thing. To not listen, to not question, to not listen to that voice that is questioning our movement in a new direction, that is questioning our decision making, that is questioning what's happening around us. It is time to go boldly in the direction that we know we are being pulled in. So if you are finding yourself in this position of second guessing, which is natural and might happen, just remember to go boldly.
Yeah, but I love where you took that. Corporate America, global corporate atmosphere.
Yeah.
There's big stuff going, and I love, like the naysayers that are quick to point out, like, nope, it's not how it's done. It's always been done this way. Nope, you can't do it that way. It won't work. You're going to crash in no time.
Yeah.
And, I think, like another great example is, just like we've been talking and looking, now that we're an our independent affiliation, like moving our bank account into a more sustainable, a B corporation, sustainable banking system that, has revolutionized things. And how important it is to then, use and support these companies that are thinking long-term, are thinking about generations down the road, and being smarter too. Like you were talking about, like working from home. It makes sense to look at a bank and say, we're not going to build buildings on every little corner, these little outlets of the bank that just, what a waste of money to have these little in-person things everywhere. When, instead we're going to start an online bank and we're going to give money, like interest back to our customers, how banks used to do, 40 years ago, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So, one example, but corporate America.
Right. And I think that's just, kind of to pick on them a little bit. It's just so obvious. And so many, like, for me, not being in corporate America, but having like a lens into corporate America is, and I say corporate America because I don't have that globally, but I think there's probably a lot of similarities. But having this, like, glimpses into it and stories and close friends and whatever. And it's like, why do you do it that way? Just all this stuff that's all, like you said, well, this is the way it's always been done. I have a friend who is in a very high management position in a corporate setting. But it's a small enough corporate setting that they actually have a lot of pull and they were working on creating a report the other day for like their quarterly sales, whatever, and basically went and like bullet pointed all the things they wanted to bullet point, and then went back through and had to like corporatize the language. And we're like, I hate this part. This is the worst. Having to, you can't just be like, the issue we had was people are difficult. Sale, I don't know, whatever, all the things that, right? They have to be like, the primary focus of this quarter has been, and like turn it all whatever. And it's like, by the time you're done saying it all that, it's like, it doesn't mean anything anymore. But the point was, I was like, well, could you not? I'm like, no, that's what's expected. And I'm like, yeah, but like, who's setting the expectation? Like, if you're the person and maybe you can't do it everywhere, but like, if you're the person who's in charge of things, couldn't you not do it? Like, couldn't you do it different, But
Right.
I think that's just such the mentality in so many places. Like, it takes a certain amount of guts to be the one to step out and say, so I think it would be more efficient if we did it this way,
Right.
and take the risk of being vulnerable enough to say that. And yeah. But it's fascinating to see the systems that are in place to like, and whether we think they're intentional to keep us in line or whether they're just happenstance because of human nature, to create this artificial pecking order based on insecurities, whatever, however it came about. It's fascinating to see, like the systemic, what's the word? Like the systemic authority that we have imagined and developed that keeps us in line with, well, no, that's the expectation. We have to. Oh,
Right.
okay. Yeah.
Right.
So like, if you are that person who can boldly go in a different direction, maybe it's just with your team. Maybe it's your department. Maybe you're that guy, Dan, what's his name? The one who decided several years ago to just pay every single employee, including himself, a flat like $70,000 a year.
Right.
And they're like, blowing away all of their goals and initiatives, and everyone is so much more happy, and et cetera, and how much crap he gets for it. But it's like, yeah, he gets crap for it, but look how successful he is. And all of the people working with him.
Right. That was like 4 or 5 years ago now. And he was just recently, came out again in the media a couple months ago saying all those people, all the financial pundits that said this would never work. Because, he was paying himself at the minimum of 70,000. I think there's some in the company that make more, but everybody gets 70,000, a solid living wage. Yeah. And then proved wrong. He's like, quadrupled in size. He's retained like 90% of his workforce, which is crazy. Yeah. That's like where we lose so much money, is like just in the turnover and training. People are always looking for a better thing. But if you treat people with respect and dignity to begin with, you develop, loyalty, and he's proved that. And I see that model slowly going to other places. And then, with the Great Resignation, it's pretty interesting how, with all people quitting and like, can't keep anybody in fast food or retail. We're losing all of our employees. It's like, well, some companies are stepping up and paying more and listening to the needs a little more. And other fast food, for instance, there's a couple places like their answer was to try to change laws to get so that 15-year-olds can work an hour later. Like before they can only work till 10. We need to change that law to let them work till 11. Like rather than like following the lead of saying let's treat our employees better, they're like, how can we keep treating our employees crummy? Well, we just need more 15-year-old workers, because then that's an excuse. You're like, they don't need the money. So, but they can only work till 10. So we just got to change that law.
You got to change that law. Well, and isn't that like the perfect example of, bring this whole conversation full circle, is like, those who have realized we are at that tipping point of the critical mass of we can no longer think just about ourselves, but we're creating for ourselves. We're creating collective, and this is like whether we like it or not, we're creating by ourselves. We are creating collectively, and we are creating for a future that we're not going to be part of. And so for those who want to do that in this kind of older mentality of like, I'm only thinking about myself and my profits, they just keep digging deeper this hole of like, how can we maintain this as long as I'm part of this? Let's maintain the way, the status quo, the way it's been. And yet then we have more people, I would say more and more and more people realizing, oh, well, we're creating together, and we're responsible for what happens next, even when we're not there. And we have more people that are like stepping up to the plate and taking responsibility because, well, it's the humane thing to do. I mean, not only is it humane, it's smart, it's kind. It's so many things that it's so much more than my bias against this old way.
Right.
If you haven't gotten, I clearly have a little bit of a bias here, but yeah, like what if we all just treated each other like people again, or maybe for the first time.
And I think what the kicker is with that is that when we do that, like we're recognizing, wait, that's actually more profitable too. It's actually
right?
and sustainable, because the way that we've been going, this great divide, eventually there's no more money to then trickle back up because nobody has it. So like if you want to sustain, capitalism, unfettered capitalism is unsustainable. It has an end point. And learning that, like all these things of just treating people more kindly. Wait, and then I actually benefit from doing that, from treating other people more kindly.
Weird.
Why don't more people do that?
Yeah.
And like another great example is just to talk, around like climate change and the environment. Like I forget what the woman's name is, but she was a pretty staunch Republican, and she's but big environmentalist. And she's like, the trick that she used to get more people on board is you save money when you go green. When we make these changes, like we will make more money that way. And like,
what? Really?
Like,
why did you say so?
And like, it's crazy. It's that whole reciprocal thing, man. What you put out comes back, and it's doing the right thing actually pays as well, which should be a no-brainer. But it's not there yet. But we're working on it.
Yeah. So I feel like my biggest takeaway tonight is to go boldly just means to be kind to people.
Kind to yourselves.
Yeah.
Think about what we want to create and act from that space.
Yeah. I like it. Let's do it.
Me too. Do it.
Do it.
All right. So as you can tell, we have the most amazing and fun job in the world. So thank you so much for joining us, giving this a shot, checking it out. It's so much fun to explore these topics with you each and every week. So it is our desire to not only share what we have learned, but to journey alongside each one of you as we navigate this adventure that we call life. Our mission at Soul Evolution Collaborative is to bring forth the wisdom of ancient teachings and spiritual principle in a new and innovative way. If you would like to support this mission and its continued evolution, we invite you to go to soulevolutioncollaborative.org and click on the donate button. All donations are tax deductible and serve to support this evolving ministry in its vision of personal transformation and communal evolution. We are our own thing now, Soul Evolution Collaborative. So thanks for being with us all this time. Have a wonderful week. Hope to see you Thursday.